Hello, I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic, and today we will explore what to expect from shooting with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. We'll take a quick look together at about 200 test photos captured across a wide range of locations, from beautiful vineyards and spring meadows to a full moon sky. What is important? This is an HDR video, so it can display photo and video quality exactly as you would see it on this phone. Let's get to it. What you'll see in this video. First, we will summarize the main technical specifications of this mobile phone and what lenses, sensors and key settings it has. I'll show you which of the many features you might want to check out. And then we'll use the 200 photos taken in various conditions from mountains to cafes to show what exactly the Samsung S25 Ultra has to offer. One very important note, this is my first ever HDR video. So if you are watching it on a HDR display, you'll see the photos and videos in their full quality, exactly as I see them during testing. You will notice it, for example, in the glowing highlights and perfectly white clouds. But it's a bit of a risky experiment, because on all the computers, for instance, the video might not look right. So, if possible, I recommend watching it on a phone or a TV that supports HDR. And as always, now I suggest we start with the overview of the lenses and sensors. So that is the first one, the most important lens, most important sensor. It has 200 megapixels, so it's a big sensor, and it has 23 millimeters. And as always, I am showing you some examples I have taken during these weeks of testing. And I have selected these examples so you can get really an idea of which sort of photos can you expect. From Prague, from cafes, from spring mountains, of course, and many details. We'll get to it in a couple of minutes. I'll show you many more shots, but please take this just as an introduction into what is to come. And of course, we might be using this also for portraits, so that's why I'm showing you some really nice dogs and beer and a couple of colors from this Prague cafe. And then we have two telephoto lenses. This is the first one of them. It has 69 millimeters and 10 megapixels, which is quite important to note because, well, 10 megapixels is not that much. Actually, my Lightroom was suggesting the result comes out in 12 megapixels, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that, of course, the quality is great, but still it's a certain limit. So although I really like the shots, I was sometimes quite afraid to zoom, for instance, or to crop the shots. You won't see it in these examples, but if I make this bumblebee to look bigger, you'll see that 10 megapixels might be a certain limit. But again, it's just a detail to remember. Generally, as you can see from these shots, you won't definitely be disappointed. And then we have the 50 megapixels and 115 millimeters on that telephoto lens. And of course, that would be much more important than the previous one. And again, some examples. Of course, we'll be using that for situations when you need to zoom, when you need to get closer to flowers or Prague Castle. We'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But at that stage, let me just show you a couple of shots with these amazing details. And I'll have some more examples, but I have to admit that one of the really great features of that mobile phone is the ability to capture details like that, which I've really found to be quite amazing. And two dogs which I am sure really loved being photographed. And of course, then we have the ultra-wide lens, which might be somehow forgotten by many users, but it would be a pity because, as you can see from these examples, it really gives us the power to capture really wide scenes and streets and rivers and things like this. And you can also use it in nature, like here when I wanted to capture these amazing oak leaves and the tree as such. Some more examples: a church at night and flowers. We'll see many more of these in a couple of minutes. One of the key features of that mobile phone would be its ability to zoom up to 100, as you can see from that screen recordings. And so we can go from 0.6 up to 3, 5, 10, 30 and 100. And here are the results. So if we now see the shots, again, we start at the ultra wide level and we go up, up, up. As I mentioned, the 5 is the maximum optical zoom, then we go through digital zoom, and I have to admit again the quality is really decent even when we are zooming dramatically, and that would be 100, which is just really very far. Let me show you this once more. So we go right from here up to here. Amazing. But of course I'm not sure if you will be using that much, but it's interesting. One more real-life situation, a helicopter hovering over Prague, and that is 100 zoom. Well, quite impressive. And since I was testing during the full moon, I could not resist trying that amazing function. It's not new, we've been trying that for many years, but still, I really find this fascinating. You can see the clouds coming over the moon, and yes, it's just worth trying, definitely. And I think this was 1 or 2 days before the full moon, and here comes the real full moon on the very evening. And these two shots are interesting because the mobile was clearly not able to draw the details when these trees were blocking it full view. I had to wait until it went up and then it worked again. I'm not saying this is a fraud, I am just saying it must be a lot of processing, a lot of things going behind. If you buy this mobile phone, please do promise me that you'll be playing with those features like Pro mode, in which you are able to do things which pros do. It means to use shutter speed corrections and all these fancy things. And please do not forget that, of course, the main sensor has 200 megapixels. And if you want, you are able to capture your photos into this maximum size. And then if you do it, you'll be able to get really a lot of details. And now I suggest we move to those roughly 200 test photos, and we can start here with these two lovely dogs, which just loved being photographed. And you have probably noticed this is portrait mode, so the background blur is artificial. Sometimes it looks a little bit strange, but again, it does work well generally, and these shots are nice. So typically I would be testing this on people, but I decided, since I have that amazing example here with the dogs, why don't I show it to you? And dog called Amber, you might have seen her in many of my reviews, so I just can't let her to miss this one. Amber and beer again in the portrait mode. And now let me just show you a couple of examples of details. And I have already mentioned that I was really impressed by the capabilities of that mobile phone in that respect, because once you try shots like that, you'll be just impressed, because this is a mobile phone. I know over last years we stopped being surprised by what these things can do. But when I did these shots and I was able to capture animals and details of this poisonous flower or even bee, you know, I again have to say that, well, the world of mobile photography is just amazing. Bumblebee collecting some nectar from the trees, butterfly, and some more details. So please, if you buy that mobile phone, do not forget to test what it can do well on flowers, bumblebees, and all these amazing small creatures. In that part, we'll be visiting vineyards in southern Moravia, which I really love because I love wine, and I love to test mobile phones there because the landscape is just great. And I was really lucky to be here in the vineyard during a big storm. I can see the clouds are gathering and the spring green is just blossoming, and well, every photographer would be happy if he was lucky enough to be there in that time. So some really interesting examples, and once more, you can really enjoy these shots partly thanks to that I'm showing it to you in the HDR. And because we are in the wine making area, we should try some wine. What do you think? And of course, this is a great example of how to use ultra wide lens and capture bit of atmosphere of this interesting place. And now we moved back to Prague, and another collection of shots covers these flowers. And I know you might be bored by the flowers. Also, I have to apologize once again because I know I am moving ahead very quickly. Sometimes you even write to me asking me, please do not be that quick because we just want to enjoy the shots. But what I am trying to do is to throw a lot of examples at you and allow you to get some impression from a really huge collection of shots. So I hope you won't be too critical over my speed. Some amazing colors in a coffee house, and the coffee was really great. Some more boring stuff, parks in Prague, streets in Prague with ultra-wide, and examples of what can be achieved with this mobile phone. Once I was testing in Prague, I just could not resist to take you to that location. You've probably seen it in many of my reviews, but first, I just love it here, and second, it's probably one of the best views of Prague I can think of. So, great example of the HDR capabilities of that mobile phone. Couple of details, and let's move back to Moravia, a church at night, interesting sceneries, and amazing part of countryside, a lot of colors, a lot of greenery, a lot of clouds, and finally we can enter that part of Moravia, the Carpathian Mountains, with hidden treasures, hidden trees, a lot of sun, and we can depart the photo part of that review here. Colors might seem to be somehow too wild to be true, but if you love oaks like I do, you just will not be surprised, because yes, that's how the color play out during the spring. And finally, let me show you a couple of examples of video, and once again I have to apologize because I am really not good at evaluating video, because the photography, that's my world, and I'm really good at telling you if it makes or not sense, but not in the video. So the best thing I can do is what I am doing right now. So I am just showing you a couple of examples. All these videos were recorded in 4K in 30 frames per second, so you can make your own observations, but I believe they really fit into the line with what we've seen in that review, that yes, indeed, the Samsung S25 Ultra belongs among the top flagships on the market at the moment. So thank you so much for your attention. I hope I gave you some inspiration. Take care. I am Jan from Prague, the Czech Republic.